welcome to Telling the Tale. I'm your host, Mitchell Farley Wolf, and I'm here with Dustin Jackson.
Hello, it's me, Dustin Jackson.
So this is the podcast. Dustin, I'm sure you know this. This is the podcast where we go through every single episodic Telltale video game, and in a couple of cases, non-episodic Telltale video games, and play them all and tell you all about them, because someone has to, we've decided. I guess that was sort of on us to choose.
That's true. I have heard that we do that on that show before, yeah.
Yeah. We have done in the past 2 seasons of The Walking Dead, and we are now hitting the designated midpoint of The Walking Dead. The Michonne. Would you call this a mini-series? A mini arc?
I think it was billed as a mini-series.
Okay, yeah. Michonne is a character from the main continuity of the original Walking Dead comics and the TV show based on those comics, which is not usually where we are in the Walking Dead games, but we're here now. And Dustin, what do you think of this woman?
Michonne? I think she's great from what little we've seen. I feel like they do a really good job of selling the character. Before I played it, I thought she was just going to be another, like, Molly or Jane type where, she's just, like, good at everything and that's all there is to her. That's selling at least Jane a little short, but that is kind of the impression I got was she is tough, she can really handle herself, and that's true, but I think it really does a good job of selling her vulnerabilities as well.
Yeah, so this is episode 1 of the Walking Dead Michonne miniseries. Episode 1, In Too Deep. Released February 23rd, 2016. 2016! We're getting pretty modern.
2016. You know what's funny? The title's called In Too Deep. That's what I was thinking when we started this episode of the podcast. There ain't no going back now.
Going back on recording the episode?
Oh, no, I just mean the podcast in general. We're in too deep.
Yeah, it would be weird to stop now.
1 episode into Michonne.
I think the only reason, like, if we just suddenly stopped, if we just agreed with each other, I think we should stop. The only reason a listener who doesn't know us could imagine that we did that for is probably like, oh, they must hate each other now.
What happened between this week and last week?
Just to finish off the due diligence we have in talking about each episode, episode 1, In Too Deep, was written by Megan Thornton and Nicole Martinez. It was designed by Chris Hockabout, Emily Garrison, and Grady Standard, and directed by Kent Muddle. So, worth noting, Megan Thornton got a writing credit, Chris Hockabout got a design credit, but in the opening cinematic, it says that Walking Dead Michonne, not episode 1 necessarily, like the whole thing, is a Telltale story by Megan Thornton and Chris Hockabout. So they're leading this charge. Those are names I feel like I would have remembered, both of them. I don't think we've seen.
I don't think so either.
They're newish names, especially Hockabout. That's a very new name.
Yeah, I would remember a name like that coming up.
Yeah, it's a good name.
Yeah. So
we are now in. We did skip ahead a little bit because I think things like Game of Thrones and first season of Minecraft Story Mode are before Michonne, technically. So we're skipping ahead in the years just to kind of go back to The Walking Dead, because I was feeling it. I was feeling it was time to go back to Walking Dead.
Yeah. Can I just say, Mitchell?
Yeah.
After New Tales from the Borderlands, I won't hang on this too much. We're done with that, but boy, is this just a breath of fresh air. Even just jumping back into this miserable, awful world, it felt like 2 princes from Spin Doctors was playing in my head.
I kind of know what you're talking about, because I have this thing with The Walking Dead. We've now done, let's see, first season was technically 6 episodes with 100 days. Second season was 5, so that's 11. And now we've done 12. We've done 12 Walking Dead episodes.
Yeah.
And every time we do them, I keep thinking like, oh, nice, I'm going to go back into The Walking Dead. We're going to see these characters and like this design philosophy that I've really come to appreciate. And then I start playing and I'm like, oh, I forget how sad it is every time. And I forget how the actual act of playing it is far from fun, which is, I think we've talked about how fun is. It's a goal for video games, right? It's not the goal you need to have, especially in a game like Walking Dead. They've got other artistic aspirations outside of fun. But it does slow me down just when I put the controller in my hands and I even see like the Walking Dead Definitive Edition menu pop up and I see Clementine's house from the first episode and it's just such a bummer.
Yeah, I do really like how so this collection, the Definitive Collection, came out after everything, and I like that they take Clementine's house and just cover it in vines and overgrowth, just showing like how much time has passed from that first episode. Yeah.
It's a great product. It does crash anytime you get an achievement.
You know what's funny? I actually did not get that this time.
Oh, nice.
Just this one time. It has happened to me before, so I know it is there.
No, I mean,
I was dreading it. But
every time since we started season 2, we would get to the end of an episode and it would give us the achievement, that is the only achievement getting in this collection, by the way. It's just you get one for finishing an episode.
Yeah.
And then it would usually pop on the choices screen and then it would just crash. That's happened for me every time since season 2. I was hoping because it didn't happen in season 1, it was just a season 2 thing, but now it's happened for Michonne as well.
I remember it happening to me when I was replaying season 1 on this collection, and it happened a few times in season 2. I don't know what makes it do it and what makes it not do it, because there were a couple times where it just didn't crash. Like, I'm so thankful that it didn't crash when I finished season 1. Cause, like, it was this whole thing where remember how angry I was that the other collection I played it on just didn't have the song Take Us Back on it?
Yeah.
This version does, but I would have been real upset if I got screwed out of that because it crashes.
Yeah, not to throw around any specifics, because I, as a game developer, have a lot of respect for other game developers. It's always a difficult job, no matter what kind of game it is. But there are a lot of examples, again, not saying any specifics, when something has the phrase Definitive Edition on it and is not. For various reasons, you can point to various parts of the product and say, well, this is clearly not the best version of this thing because this part is worse or that part is worse.
Right.
And it definitely devalued the phrase Definitive Edition. It made me not trust it when I see it. In fact, it happens so often, it might have had the opposite effect on me of thinking, oh, it says a Definitive Edition? I'll just get the one that doesn't say that.
Oh yeah, we'll see about that. I'm going with this one.
All of that is to say, the Walking Dead Definitive Edition is really good. It's a great Definitive Edition.
Yeah, besides the crashes, I would say everything else is great.
Yeah, and to be clear, there are no other crashes. It's just right when you end an episode, before when you would have gotten credits.
Yeah.
It'll sometimes crash there, because that's when the achievement pops up. Because I like to write down the writers and designers and director, I go to the menu to watch the credits before I even play the episode. So I did get the credits anyway this time.
Good job.
Thank you, bud.
Do they have like credits for each individual episode?
Yeah.
Cool. That's good. Because different people working on each one.
Right, yeah.
Not only that, but they sometimes have different songs, which isn't that big a deal in the grand scheme of things, but sometimes you want to know what song it has and if it crashes. Like, if they just have, like, A credits for the whole game, I don't want that. I mean, that's cool too, I guess, but I like being able to know who did what on specific episodes.
This might be my memory tricking me, but with new Tales from the Borderlands, I'm pretty sure that if you play the credits from the menu versus actually playing them from finishing the game, you get different songs.
Really?
Yeah, because when I finished the game, the first song in the credits was by Lewis Cole, and I really like Lewis Cole, so I recognized the song immediately. But that was not the first time I'd seen the credits.
Right.
Because I looked at it in the menu, and I'm pretty sure when I looked at it in the menu, it was just like some different song that I did not recognize.
Interesting. That's so weird. That adds a little wrinkle to the many mysteries of new Tales from the Borderlands.
Yeah, that was the only time I've seen that, though. Old Tales from the Borderlands, which is a funny name to call it. I'm pretty sure I always got the same credits, because I did the same thing. I always look at the credits first, if they have them in the menu for me to access.
You know what? Something so funny about this whole Borderlands series. So last week, I took my roommates to Best Buy.
What a time! What a fun time for the family.
It is, because we don't go very often. Like, it's not close to our house, so every time we go, I'm like, oh yeah, it's kind of nice to just walk around Best Buy a little bit. But I was in the Switch games.
You're getting to that dadly age. That's a dadly vibe.
Oh man, don't say that.
Well, you can't just say things like it's fun to walk around the Best Buy.
Well, I mean, I've always felt like that. It's just kind of fun to like walk and look at the video games and DVDs and be like, oh yeah, I might want to get that sometime. And not that, I mean, their DVD section is like a fifth of what it used to be.
Yeah,
but
in my mind, I do kind of know what you're talking about, because when I go to Best Buy, it's like a different. It's almost a little disappointing, not like so much, but it's because in my mind's eye, I see the rows and rows and rows of Tomb Raider for PC that I saw maybe twice when I was a kid, but for some reason, I just think, yeah, that's what Best Buy is. You can get Tomb Raider there. The same way
they're the Tomb Raider
the
store.
toy aisles in Target, I think of all the Bionicles that aren't there anymore.
Yeah, well, now the Toys R Us isn't there anymore.
No, the toy aisle in Target.
Oh, for some reason I thought you said Toys R Us. Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I got my Bionicles.
That's cool. I like that story.
It's not even a story, I'd say.
But so we were at Best Buy.
Yeah.
And I'm in the Switch games, and I see new Tales from the Borderlands for the Switch. And it has a sticker that says, includes Tales from the Borderlands. And my first thought wasn't, oh, I could play new Tales from the Borderlands on my Switch. My first thought was, oh, I could buy this and get Tales from the Borderlands on my Switch.
Is Tales from the Borderlands purchasable separately on Switch?
I'm not sure. I would have to assume so. I don't think because I think that's how it works on PlayStation and Xbox, is it just downloads it separately. So I would assume you can just buy it on its own on the eShop. But
if that's not a massive like tech downgrade, that would be a great Switch game.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I have no idea how well it runs. Could be great. I could imagine it being fine, but
yeah, I haven't heard like anything about Telltale games on Switch.
Yeah, hard to say with Switch ports. Oftentimes you can barely tell, and then other times you can absolutely a lot tell.
Yeah, I guess with Telltale games, it just really, I can't imagine them running that bad, but who knows?
So what else did you get at Best Buy?
Oh, I was just taking them there for something. I wasn't getting anything, but it was just nice to look around and be like, video games. There's not a lot of stores that like appeal to my interests.
Best Buy is one of them?
Yeah, I mean, they have video games and movies and such, but cool. Like there used to be like so many other places that just shut down.
Yeah, I always feel about GameStop whenever I go to a GameStop. It's like video games are my thing, and I go to the one currently existing store that specializes in them. And I feel so ousted from my own thing, you know?
Wow, how come?
It's so uncomfortable. I think the TVs that they have constantly playing on a loop their own made up news channel about video game advertisements. That's wild, right?
It feels like you're in a different world.
Yeah, one time I went there and I saw them talking about the game I'm working on, and that was like, okay, this is too weird. I gotta go home.
I gotta get out of here.
I gotta get out of here. There's that. There's the fact that like they are now designed to have the absolute least amount of hangoutitude, which I think in the early to mid 2000s that made sense because you wanted teenagers loitering there less because they were imagining there's this flow of people that are coming through the door to buy our product, pay us money, and leave. But now that is not the case. You don't have like a line waiting at the door eagerly to enter the GameStop. You have people who you want to be there so much. Just like, if you hang out here for 2 more minutes, maybe I can convince you to buy a shirt. Like, that's the new vibe. But
we have this Goku shirt. Come on.
Yeah, you just bought Minecraft Story Mode on PS4. You should buy this Goku shirt.
You seem like the kind of person who loves Dragon Ball Z if you're playing Minecraft Story Mode.
Yeah, and I'd have to say you're right, but not for the reasons you think.
You just grab them and squeeze their face. You're so close.
But like, tell me if this is true about your GameStop, but it's always like thin. It's a thin store, wall to wall.
Yeah.
It's long. It's like deep. It's thin and deep.
Yeah. I get what you're saying. Yeah.
They can't just have a store with like space to be in anymore. They have to, I guess, find the thinnest spaces between a vitamin shop and a Ruby Tuesdays in order to house their video game sales. And
then it's even thinner inside because they have like all the stuff in the middle of the floor, like all the merchandise shelves.
And
so you
and
really got to maneuver yourself around.
Their collection of old games is basically gone.
Yeah,
that would be the point, and now it doesn't exist anymore. So even though there are in my town, I think there are 2 operating GameStops still in the city of where I live.
Okay.
Almost doxed myself. I caught it. I
Good
think
job.
I'm public about where I live. I don't think that's new information. But
safe.
There's 2 GameStops, and I always don't go to them because I would rather just buy it at Target. Because even though Target is not optimized for video games specifically, they just have a better. It just feels better to go to Target. In every way.
I do like going to Target.
Especially, okay, the worst thing about GameStop is you can buy a new game. It's new prices. It says new on it. It's considered a new good. But they've like opened up the shrink wrap, opened up the case, taken the disc out and put the disc in an envelope and stored it in their drawers separately from the case.
Mm-hmm.
That is not what new is.
Yeah, you've made it pre-owned.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the worst. So like
it is.
Even if GameStop was a brilliantly comfortable and inviting environment, which it is not, I would still probably rather just go to Target because they don't do that.
It sucks because I feel like I think GameStop still like takes in old games.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I don't know if they. Oh, okay.
They
I haven't
still
done it in
have
a long
old
time,
games, but like they don't have old games for older systems. They don't even. Like Wii U is basically gone already.
Yeah.
And
well, that's what I'm saying. I think you can still like trade them in, but I think they just sell them like on their site. I don't even know if they still do that. I remember for a while they would take in like Game Boy games and N64 games for a while. I don't even know if they still do that.
No, the old games that they sell pre-owned, they do put them on the shelves if they are for the current systems.
Yeah, that's lame.
Yeah,
I could just go. I guess I don't know. Maybe sometimes I just want to play a game but don't want to pay new full price for it, which sucks. But I'm a man with limited money.
Yeah, we have this other used game. I guess we don't want to talk about Michonne. We have this other used game store in our town that it's like a specialty shop, not a chain, and it has games from all ages. In fact, it doesn't have very many things that are newer than like Xbox 360.
Ooh, yeah.
And that's
I
a cool
like
place
places
to go.
like that. Yeah, it's just nice to see, like, you could find some hidden gems.
Yeah. Every now and again, like a couple times a year, really at most though, I'll go there and I'll buy like a Game Boy Advance game, and I'm kind of I want the game. It's not like I'm just throwing money around, but I'm kind of doing it mostly just because like I'd like you to stay in business, and this is not enough to do it, but like I can say I participated in the effort.
I helped you out here. Remember what I did for you today.
Yeah, because like it's always better to do online is the thing, because these stores that used to be the good deals where you could find rare stuff now are basically integrated online entirely as well. So now they aren't going to like have anything super rare at a reasonable price either. You're basically seeing internet prices in real life, and it's all
Yeah.
standardized.
I
The
can't
gold rush is
believe
over.
I can't believe that Banjo Pilot for the Game Boy Advance, not the best banjo game out there.
Not even the
Is
best
like-
banjo game on the Game Boy Advanced.
Yeah, that's true. That's going for like $50 on eBay.
That one is kind of a rarity, so I kind of get it. But even things that were totally around and very purchasable, like Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door, that was not rare.
Yeah.
That was not uncommon by any stretch. It's gotten to like $100 or more.
That's that makes me upset.
You got so angry that you just became a horse for a second.
I was gonna say I got so upset that it made me a horse.
Should we talk about Michonne?
I guess we can get around to it. No, I enjoyed it a
Sorry,
lot. I had a
listener,
good
I guess.
time with this episode.
Yeah, I liked it enough. I guess my take, to high level it a little bit, was it certainly reminded me we're back in Walking Dead, but I don't know if I got anything out of this episode that felt nearly as interesting as anything in The Walking Dead we've played so far.
It feels like a setup episode. Part of it is because it feels really short. It kind of feels like maybe there could have been like one more act that gets something big moving,
Yeah.
but it really it feels like it's just kind of setting up what's going to happen, which is fine if it happens.
So for a bit of chronological context here, this came out about a year and a half after season 2 ended. So
That's a long time.
well, it's a long time for a show.
Yeah.
For a video game, it's pretty fast. But for an episodic game like this, especially how season 2 of The Walking Dead really came right on the trails of season 1 of The Walking Dead, a year and a half between season 2 and Michonne is kind of a lot.
Yeah.
But it came out in 2016, and only like a few months later in 2016, the season 3 proper started.
I always get I don't know why, but for some reason I always think this came after season 3, which isn't right, but
I would guess the reason you think that is probably because you played season 3 and not this.
that's probably exactly it.
I'm glad we solved it.
Good job. We got a regular Scooby-Doo here.
So I'm wondering if the feeling at the time was just that fans of the series, of the game series, wanted more of the stuff of The Walking Dead. Like, maybe this is I'm not saying this is true or not. This is just like, I'm imagining a boardroom at Telltale feeling this way.
Right.
They have a plan for season 3, but they're not going to get it out that early. It's going to be later in 2016. So what can we do that's maybe a little cheaper and is just enough to get you more of the stuff so we can sell a product in the Walking Dead series?
I like that wording. More of the stuff.
Well, yeah, because that's sort of how I felt about it, because the writing was great. The characters and setting I thought was really cool. We'll talk about the setting of Monroe, but I really like this area.
Same.
The concept with some of the stuff earlier in the episode with the like just the psychic issues that Michonne's having. It's a very cool thing. I don't know if that's ripped straight from the comic or if it's new to this game, but it's a cool thing regardless.
Yeah.
But it does feel like, oh, you have a hankering for some more Walking Dead stuff. More so than the very specific vision and points that I got out of, or I felt like the first 2 seasons of the regular game were making.
Right. I get what you mean. And I feel like there's nothing wrong with that. Like, just getting some more Walking Dead out there. But I definitely see what you mean.
Yeah, and like any Telltale series, it will entirely depend on how it ends. We've learned that is the new metric that we have to rely on. I did ever since we've finished Walking Dead season 1, and we brought this up especially with both of the Borderlands series we covered. That's just something we need to think about now.
It's just a matter of whether or not they stick the landing. We kind of came to expect like some lulls in the middle.
We've come to expect, I think, spectacular in the official definition of the word spectacular, like very focused on spectacle.
Yeah.
First episodes, a 3-episode lull, and then a final episode that either brings it all together or doesn't. And that's the very framework that we found.
And when we say lull,
episodic and more serial.
And when we say lull for that middle part, it doesn't mean they're like bad. Like sometimes,
just in comparison to the episode 1.
Yeah, they want the high points to be the beginning and the end, and sometimes it doesn't necessarily play out in that order. I think Tales from Monkey Island just gets better and better as it goes, but it's become a pattern, like, after that, I guess, like, in the more, like, Walking Dead onward.
Yeah. Because, like, Sam and Max, I feel like every episode has a potential to be the episode. Because it helps. So episodic.
Yeah, just the way it's structured. That is kind of exciting. That's not really something I thought about at the time, but I like that Sam and Max can just like peek anywhere.
Yeah. Like with season 1, there's like a valley and then a peak and then it ends. So it's not even a bell curve or not even a slope or anything. It's like a sine wave. It's got a bunch of peaks and valleys. And that's something you can do when every episode is like, okay, I guess now Max is the president, and then we're in a video game, and then we're on the moon. and things like The Walking Dead Michonne will need to be a lot more grounded.
Yeah.
But this is also the first and only, to my knowledge, 3-episode season we're going to see.
I'm pretty sure, I don't think any others are that short.
Yeah, the things like Bone are only 2, but Bone is only 2 because it's unfinished, not because it wanted to be.
Yeah, they boned out.
Yeah, they really boned out from Boneville on that one. So this is the shortest one that feels exactly like it was planned to be like this, and I'm interested to see how they land it. I found out that this is the entire miniseries is supposed to take place between issues 126 and 139 of the comic series.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. I don't know why. I've never read the comics, but I'm gonna believe it.
So in issue 126,
Uh-huh.
Michonne, who was part of Rick Grimes, the main character, his posse, she was
His
traveling
circle
with
of
them for a
characters.
while.
Right.
She says, "You know what? I'm out. I'm doing something different, and I'm going to
So
leave."
long.
And in issue 139 of the comics, she comes back and rejoins the party. So
Oh,
in that
so
13 issue gap, she is gone. And
so
this is
is
the story
this
of
is
her being
supposed to
gone.
be? That's awesome. I like that. I like taking like a chunk of a comic and saying like, this is what happened.
Yeah,
This is what you didn't see.
it does make this game feel very canon. I guess they've always said that the Telltale games are canon to the comic series, but like because they're taking places in different parts of the country and with different characters for the most part, they're not going to. It's not going to matter that much.
It's not like the characters are gonna show up in the show or comic, but it is cool that it's still considered canon with them.
Yeah, but this is like it's not even a gap in the show as much. It's a gap in the comic that we're
Yeah.
targeting. So it's really specifically supposed to be an elucidation of a character in the comic, which is cool idea. If you were thinking, I wonder if in that boardroom, that very fancy Telltale boardroom where people talk about what games they should make, I wonder if they were like disappointed that they couldn't be considered part of the main Walking Dead story and this is a way to get in there, or if like how that conversation came up. Maybe it was a recommendation from the author, because I know the author of the comics is like super happy with how the games turned out.
Yeah, I could see that definitely. It's just a cool idea. I had no idea about that. Now I'm like, okay, that makes me, even with no connection to the comics, I don't want to go out and read all of the Walking Dead comics, but it's still just it's cool that they're able to fill in that gap.
So Dustin, I think we've talked about this before. We might have even talked about this earlier this episode.
Awesome.
But I'm going to ask
the
you again
GameStop
because
story.
that's the style of podcast that we've developed over the years now, literal years.
Right.
Isn't that weird?
That's, yeah.
We started in 2021.
And now we're in 2023? Are you kidding me with this?
The question I am asking that you've definitely talked about on the show before, but I'm just going to do again, is what is your relationship to the comic and the show of The Walking Dead?
None.
You've never seen a single episode?
I think I've seen like an episode a long time ago and just didn't entice me enough to stick around, I guess. Not to say anything against it, just it's weird to say because I just didn't watch more because it just wasn't my thing, and I just don't have the time to stick around for things that aren't my thing these days, or even back then. You know, I got work to do.
Yeah, that was like 10 years ago, and you still don't have time.
Yeah, I didn't gain more time, but yeah, it's just weird how like I won't take the time to sit and watch the show or read the comic, but I did make the time to play these games.
Well, I think that in the world of comics, The Walking Dead will be remembered, like, maybe this is dismissive, but I think that it'll be remembered, like, pretty fondly. In the world of television, it will be remembered as schlocky and,
right,
and kind of like, you know, put on some trash. Let's veg out and watch some Walking Dead. That kind of.
Let's see some people get killed by zombies.
Yeah, like it'll definitely be remembered as a thing that people liked, but there are a lot of those, and I don't know if it's going to stand the test of time as like a classic. Whereas the game is, and in the world of games, the Walking Dead game is much higher in prestige than any of the other Walking Dead things in their fields. So I think it makes a lot of sense to focus on the games.
It's funny, just today I was watching a Watch Mojo list. I know not a lot of people love those, but I was watching one that was top 10 saddest video game deaths.
Okay.
And can you guess what number 1 on the list was?
Lee.
It was definitely Lee.
Okay. I was trying to think if there was any other deaths in The Walking, like Kenny maybe, but Lee.
Maybe, but even that, it doesn't compare to Lee. That scene just tore people apart.
Plus, Kenny didn't have to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I was just going through the list thinking, like, oh, Lee might be, like, somewhere on this list. I'm just gonna, like, fast forward through it and see if he is. But no, number 1 on the list.
I mean, if you asked me that question without priming me to think about The Walking Dead, I'd probably guess Aerith?
Aerith was
Final
number
Fantasy
2.
7? Oh, wow, okay.
Good job.
Wow. I want to guess
You've
that
got
number
your finger
3
on
now.
the pulse.
Let's see how much I can remember.
Okay.
Saddest video game deaths. Number 3. Oh, it's not coming to me. Is there a sad Halo one? Like is there a sad Majora's Mask one?
Well, neither of those are it.
Okay. Do you remember it? You remember number 3?
I have the video up right now.
Give me a very vague hint as to the game it's from.
It's very popular.
Shit. Is it when I died when I was trying to win a game of Fortnite?
I think that might have been in like the top 10, but it's not number 3.
Was there really a top 10 of like when you lose at Fortnite or something?
No. that was me being a jackass to you.
That would be funny though. That would be an interesting interpretation of how to
top 10 saddest like Fortnite deaths.
That one time when I was totally gonna win, but I was trying to scratch my finger, so I took my hand off the controller for a second and lost.
Do you agree with our list? Let us know in the comments.
Oh, for me, Super Paper Mario spoilers, but Tippy? Oof.
Yeah, Super Paper Mario was not on the list.
Damn. Okay, yeah, you should just tell me.
So spoilers. Plenty of people played this, but still, spoiler warning anyway. It's Sarah Miller from The Last of Us.
Oh, The Last of Us. Okay, I wouldn't even have guessed that character, but
yeah,
I should have thought The Last of Us as a classically sad video game.
Right. But I was thinking like something from The Last of Us would be up there, so I was happy to see Walking Dead top the list.
Yeah, it just slipped my mind that game even existed for a second, but if I thought about it, I think
I would remember it existed.
I would remember it exists if I thought about it. Yeah, so here's a couple game layer notes I have just about the game itself.
Do tell.
One, I thought that the dream sequence was very stylized and very interesting looking and cool until I remembered that I had graphic black on.
Yeah.
So I went to the menu and turned it off, and then it was regular, which was fine, but I thought it was a stylistic choice at first.
That's so funny you say that, because my very first note is, holy shit, graphic black is way too much.
Yeah, because there's a dream sequence that starts the episode, and it's Michonne dealing with the fact that she lost her kids in some way. She had 2 children.
Yeah.
And she lost them in some way to the zombie apocalypse.
Right. Like they don't tell you exactly what happened, but you can make some educated guesses.
Yeah, and you actually just might know if you follow the comics what happened, but
you might know more than us. But I think it does a good job of conveying just something happened and you can probably guess what.
Yeah, so like in this dream sequence, she's alternating between fighting a bunch of zombies in an outside environment, and then it'll just cut to her in the same sort of position, but she's inside a very dark apartment. And the dark apartment was basically black, and I thought that was on purpose. It would make sense to do that because it's all dreamy and scary.
Yeah, if it was just like that, like if that's just the way it was, then it would be cool. It would be a cool way to stylize like hallucinations she's having.
But it was in fact just the setting that I forgot to turn off.
Yeah, and then I turned it off and I was like, oh, I can actually see the room now.
Yeah, it was fine. I mean, I only turned it off after the dream sequence, like right after. So
right.
It suddenly became normal. Honestly, if you're going to play this episode after hearing this podcast, I'd recommend that. Keep it on for the dream sequence, and when she wakes up, turn it off.
Yeah, it definitely helps sell it a little more.
Yeah.
On the subject of the graphic black, so when playing the other two seasons,
yeah,
I would constantly flip back and forth between graphic black and no graphic black just to compare how they look.
Yeah.
But in this, not so much, because that pause menu goes a lot slower when you have the animations of the characters turning around every time you select one of the options.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I just did not have the patience. Like, it's not like it's even that long. It's like maybe...
It's like 2 seconds.
Yeah, it's like 2 seconds, but still that really dissuaded me from wanting to switch back and forth. I just left graphic black off.
Yeah, that didn't... If I was switching back and forth, I would probably notice that more, but I think I only just switched it off the one time.
Yeah, like, it's just since it's something I had been doing, I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm just not going to be doing that here. Which is fine, it's not like it hurt the experience of the episode or anything.
There's a lot of things with graphic black that are interesting and cool looking when applied to a season like this, and this is still in the season 1 and 2 style where it isn't graphic black by default yet.
Yeah.
Is season 3? I don't know about season 3. I know season 4 is.
I'm not sure, actually. I'm not sure about season 3. But I will say, after watching my roommates replay it last year, I don't think season 3 looks very good. Like, they do some stuff with how the characters and world looks that I just don't like. So I might play that with graphic black on just to see if it helps at all.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't... You know what's interesting? Season 4... The final season is designed with that aesthetic in mind. I wonder if we still have the option to turn it off.
Oh, you know what? I didn't even think about that. That is interesting. I wonder.
Yeah, I really wonder about that. I would assume no, but I don't know.
Yeah, I might play it with graphic black just because it was the way it was intended, like, made for. But I feel like it's very hit and miss with the other seasons. Like, because some shots do look really cool with it, but I feel like when you're in like a dark room and there's lots of shadows, it just dominates way too much.
Yeah, and it dominates way too much in a way that like you have to be okay with that. I think that's why it worked in that dream sequence, sort of.
Yeah.
Because that was a time period, but like. Later on, you're on a boat, and you have a friend named Pete, who's the captain of the boat. And I'm looking at Pete's eyes with the graphic black on, and like the shadow just doesn't work. There's like vertical lines extending all the way over his eyelid to down below his eye. And I'm like, well, why? That's just the shader messing up. And
exactly.
It's not the worst thing in the world, but really, they made a shader that makes things look cooler about 85% of the time, which sounds like a lot and is. It's very impressive, not to take anything away from it, but it does mean that on screen at any given time, 15% of the things look bad, which is a lot.
Yeah, it's enough that I just usually turn off the graphic black. Like, it's distracting.
Yeah, the further along we get in the series, the more surprised I am that they were fine with it. Like, just putting it all over their pretty otherwise beautiful video games.
Yeah.
Because it simply doesn't completely gel. It is not made for that graphic style. But you can just have it as a choice. I bet there's someone who was at the studio who was like campaigning for it since the beginning and then finally got it near the end and is now excited to put it over the other stuff, even though it wasn't made for it.
Yeah. And it's too bad because it really benefits in some scenes, but yeah, if it's just gonna be a detriment, something else. I've said it before. I feel like it does a disservice to the colors in this game.
Oh,
which
yeah.
Which might be, like this is a pretty grim world and story. So I'm sure some people get more out of that, but like,
well, there's a lot of naturalistic colors in this game.
Yeah.
It's very a lot of earth tones, a lot of leaf greens and stuff like that, and that, to me, makes it feel more gritty and real, because if it actually looked grittier in the, like, 2008 Dark Knight Gears of War kind of vibe of gritty, it would look less real and less down to earth. And I think empathizing with the characters in this world on a human level is the biggest point that we have, right? It's like the biggest thing in favor of The Walking Dead. It makes everything else about it work. So getting rid of that
Agreed.
natural color is tough.
Yeah, but I am glad they give you the option to turn it off. Like, that was the big reason I didn't get the definitive edition right away. I thought the graphic black was just something you couldn't turn off. I thought it was, like, permanent. And once I heard you could turn it off, that's when I was like, all right, I'll get it.
Yeah, it's a great product.
Yeah.
It's a great product.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, bud. So in that dream sequence, she's alternating between inside the apartment with her two kids that she will have lost in some way. We don't know, unfortunately, how, but we can assume standard zombie business.
The huge.
The huge. And the outside, which we'll later find out is a real memory of hers, of when she put a gun to her head and then was rescued by Pete.
Right. It's interesting that they give you the option to pull the trigger.
Yeah, so we have the option of pulling the trigger or not. Either way, Pete is gonna step in, and I chose to pull the trigger because I was, frankly...
Oh, good.
I was frankly interested in what would happen.
Yeah, I was too. I chose not to pull the trigger, but I was, like, morbidly curious. I was like, would it just be like an instant game over?
No. So Pete runs up and, like, grabs your arm and throws it in the air, and as you're pulling the trigger, like, it shoots into the sky instead.
Okay. That makes sense.
And then you wake up, like, immediately after that. What happens with not pulling the trigger?
You just don't. You just lower the gun, and then you hear Pete in the distance coming for you, like, asking if you're okay.
Oh, gotcha.
So yeah. Either one works, I think, but I'm very glad that that's a lot better than what I thought it was going to be, which was just, you choose to pull the trigger, you do, she dies, game over, try again and pick the different one.
I honestly would respect that. But yeah, I was thinking about it, and if I was in a zombie apocalypse and they just kept coming for me like that, and I was literally on my own, completely alone, yeah, I might. I'm not saying I wouldn't. I don't know. I'd like to keep thinking that there's a chance for me out there, but this is what the world is now, so I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if I would. I feel like that might hurt.
I really don't think it would.
Well, it probably wouldn't matter.
If it hurt, it would hurt for the smallest amount of time.
Yeah, then it would be fine.
Yeah. And I'm glad that they put a choice here. I kind of feel like my choice here might be more canon. I don't know. Of giving
I see how it is.
This moment. Well, there's a lot of things later in the episode where they talk about it, and
right.
There's a few pretty big instances of Michonne either thanking Pete for like saving her, or you have the option to like not show gratitude or other things like that, and that feels like the moment. But instead, and like it gives the player a bit of a reprieve and an ability to I think exercise their own beliefs there, because I think that is such a serious thing. That's a lot of people
Right.
have such triggers around that for good reason, that they wouldn't want to play in a story where that is what happened. But that does kind of feel like that was Telltale's first idea for what can happen here, and then they gave the player the chance to avoid it.
Right, yeah.
Which I think is very respectful of them. That's respectful of the player's tolerances and abilities to withstand certain kinds of storytelling.
Yeah, that's very cool. What else is very cool is that the toy from the Devil's Playhouse is in the flashback.
So, is that from the Devil's Playhouse specifically?
Yes, it's straight up. It's Troy the Chthonic Destroyer from the Devil's Playhouse.
So, yeah, there's 3 toys that I guess Michonne's kids had, and they show up everywhere because she's kind of having delusions brought on by guilt, I suppose, of losing her kids.
Yeah.
And it is Mr. Grumplefur the bear, Chompy the dino, and Robo the robot.
Yeah.
Which one's your favorite?
Although well, I have that connection to Troy. It still says Troy on his chest. But I like all 3 of those. Give them a game.
Yeah. My favorite
Have it be like Toy Story.
My favorite is Chompy, because when you there's a scene later on where you hallucinate seeing the 3 toys on the boat when you're on one of the boats. And if you can click on one of them, and Michonne will comment on one of them, and you only get to do the one for whatever reason. Like, it makes you pick which one you want to comment on. And I
wish that was one of the choices at the end.
Yeah. I picked Chompy, and Michonne goes, Chompy the dino. Very good delivery on that line. I like
what
that
a thing to say.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, I picked Robo. How can I not? I just have that. It appealed to me. It's one of those things where if anyone in the room, I would look at them and say, I know who that is.
Yeah, for a story that is like supposed to be less Telltale and more about the working in the guts of the canon of The Walking Dead, there's a lot of Telltale references in this.
Yeah, the classic Benang later on.
Yeah, this is one of the most prominent examples of Benang.
Yeah, you're actually able to pick it up. You don't, like, use it for anything, but you can pick it up and put it in your duffel bag.
Yeah, it's like the only time I remember Benang being an inventory item.
And it's in Michonne.
Is Benang an inventory item in Sam & Max ever?
Yeah, I think in Season 2, Moai Better Blues, don't you need it for, like, the ritual?
Yeah, you put it in the sea monkey thing.
Yeah, but that makes sense for Sam & Max since that's what Benang is from. But here in The Walking Dead, that's... Wow.
Wowee!
Not to spoil what my golden moment is.
I'm really excited to see whether or not Benang shows up in The Expanse and The Wolf Among Us 2, because I think that'll be the test of whether or not this new Telltale is really the successor to Telltale. That's
whether or not they get it.
Proof's going to be in the pudding, or in this case, the banana-flavored protein supplement.
Was there Benang in the first Wolf Among Us? I don't remember.
I would not be surprised. There's a lot of the later Telltale games where I'm not sure if it's been spotted or not, but remember how it took actual years to find it in Borderlands?
Oh, was it in Borderlands?
Yeah.
It's already been so long.
Did
we find it?
I found it. There's I think it's in episode 5 of Tales from the Borderlands when Helios crashes. I'm pretty sure it is. And Reese walks into the hallway of like the wreckage, And if you get to a certain point, there's like a crash that happens, and you can either go further, which requires breaking like a glass pane. And if you do that, you're it's like a point of no return. But if you hear the crash and then turn around and walk back to the entrance of the tunnel, and then walk to the side and like peek behind a thing, you will see the Benang in the corner.
Right. I don't think there's any way I did that.
I did it because I knew what I was looking for, because I heard about that before.
Okay.
That was one of the most subtle, most out of the way Benang, or really any kind of Easter egg in any of these games that I had ever found. Because the crash and then the point of no return are so close, you're almost always going to hear the crash and then immediately pass it. So you need to purposefully go out of your way in order to go. That's why people didn't know Benang was in Tales from the Borderlands for a long time. It was a later discovered Easter egg.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And it might be as difficult as the other Benangs we don't know about are. So I don't know. Well, I think it's good to just assume every Telltale game has it. And then if we don't see it, we weren't smart enough.
we just weren't good enough game players to be on their level.
We didn't deserve it that day.
You know what? Maybe that's why New Tales from the Borderlands just didn't cut the cheese.
That's why. Because I don't think Gearbox put Benang in it. And that's their problem. Yeah. That's their issue.
Yeah. I know they're not Telltale, but if they're following up on that, they gotta know.
Yeah. Maybe they can have Orang, and that's an orange flavored Benang.
I'd be down with like a spiritual successor to the Benang Empire.
Yeah, in holy deference to the Benang. So let's talk plot. After Michonne wakes up, her Captain Pete is working on the radio, and after fitzing with it for a little bit, he hears a woman's voice. It's pretty muddled, and you can't quite make out what she's saying, but she says something about the word mobjack.
Yeah, and he's specifically listening to find where a couple of his missing friends are.
Yeah, he has some missing friends that, as far as I can tell, there's no way to find anything about them this episode, at least.
Yeah.
And knowing The Walking Dead, they are almost assuredly already dead, but you gotta keep looking. That's what you owe it to the past. You owe it to the past.
Yeah, they really put us in an inconvenient spot, having us to look for them while being already dead.
Yeah. So you're on this boat, and you're patrolling this area that Pete says a year ago there were tons of manned boats here in this bay, and they just aren't here anymore. What's up with that? Where'd they go? They crash on the wreckage of a different boat, and they take the rowboat out. By the way, on the original boat, there's a bunch of crew members. I wrote down their names. It's Michonne and Pete, and then also there's Sadiq, Oak, and Berto.
One of the things I wrote down in my notes was they really throw a lot of names out at you, and like that's fine having this many characters, but just in the back of my mind I'm like, there's no way all of these people are important.
Yeah, there's no way they're all important, and we immediately get separated from Sadiq, Oak, and Berto because Pete and Michonne go check up on a ferry they found, a shipwrecked ferry, and at the inside it's just gross. But it was gross in a way that I didn't realize at first, because it's just a bunch of dead bodies, and I'm like, yeah, I've seen these. But then they get freaked out because they realize they were executed, and I was like, oh, maybe I've become too desensitized.
Yeah, it's not like they were like walkers or anyone. They were just people chained to doors and just killed while alive.
Yeah, they were all like stabbed in the head or something like that. A real massacre of people that were killed while alive, which I guess is everyone, but it's an interesting distinction in this universe.
Yeah, hate to see it happen.
And then they check the kitchen of the place, and this is where the real story of the episode starts.
Right.
They find a duffel bag. There's Benang nearby. It's just out in the open. We talked about it already. The most visible Benang yet. A real trendsetter in the Telltale pantheon.
It's just right there in the open on a table.
Yeah, it almost felt a little pornographic to just see Benang out there.
Ooh, I feel dirty, but I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, I was like, you're just gonna give me the Benang before even making a difficult choice? Ooh.
Well, okay.
Ooh, Michonne.
Don't mind if I do.
Ooh. Yeah, well, you're really letting it all hang out, Michonne. Not the character, the game. So you find a duffel bag. It's full of very useful stuff. Some food, some bullets, some medicine, some bandages. Literally everything you could want in this universe, right?
Gosh, it's almost too good to be true.
It is. There's a locker nearby. You hear some rustling in it, and there's a boy, a teenage boy, holding a gun in the locker. His name is Greg. We come to learn later, and then a girl with a shotgun comes in the room, and they are siblings, and they say that they want that duffel bag full of goods from you.
Yeah.
Then a bunch of walkers come in, and Michonne shows off her her skill with a sword. She's very skilled with a sword.
Yeah.
She's just an incredible swordswoman.
Oh, speaking of walkers, can I rewind a little bit?
Yeah.
That scene where the walkers attack from the water.
Oh, okay, yeah. So on the way to the ferry, their little rowboat gets grabbed by walkers underwater. Yep.
Yeah, I was just... I don't want to say I was scared, but I did jump a little bit. I was like, ugh!
Yeah.
Because I up till now, hasn't it been a thing like walkers can't swim or something? I guess it's not like that deep and they can just rise up and grab them out of the boat. But I wasn't expecting walkers to be in the water. I thought like the big reason they were on the water was to be away from the walkers.
Yeah, well, I guess this water is only like 6 feet deep, so they can kind of just jump up and grab the side of the boat.
Yeah. Still, I wasn't expecting it. Up to this point, I just assumed they just stayed out of the water. But I guess because there's tons of them in there. I didn't like. This was one of the times where I was like, "How the hell are they gonna get out of this one?"
Excuse me, I did a sneeze, Dustin.
I heard it was a good one.
Thanks. They've gone back and forth on like the biology of walkers and what's required to live, because sometimes they say if the head is cut off, they're done. But sometimes you can have heads that are like still going on their own.
Yeah, I was a little confused about that because Michonne is chopping heads off willy-nilly here.
Yeah.
And it seems like some of them die, but then you like specifically see one that's like still alive and chattering its teeth, and then there's the one from season 1. So I wonder if beheading them does not kill them, but it does make them a significantly less of a threat.
Yeah, and this is kind of the thing with The Walking Dead. You kind of just got to get on board with whatever they're saying in the moment about zombies. Which feels bad, but it's just the way to imbibe the franchise, because they purposefully never get too far into telling you, okay, is this a naturally occurring virus? Is this a fungal infection? Is it magic? Is it hell runneth over?
A wizard did it.
Like Night of the Living Dead is literally demon hellspawn taking over bodies, right? And it's who's to say in The Walking Dead? It feels more physical and less supernatural, but I don't know. And you just gotta whenever they're showing something, you just gotta take it for what it is.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I think I can believe that the way it works is head cut off, then they're still like technically alive. Mm-hmm. But I guess since the brain is separate from the body is dead, and the head isn't gonna like get up and attack you.
Yeah, the thing that was bothering me about that is like, okay, if they're underwater, they should, just to operate the muscles in the body, regardless of whether the head's still going, You need oxygen.
Right.
So this thing needs to either breathe or passively take it in from the environment. And if you're underwater, it's just not happening. So that shouldn't be okay. But
they should have had snorkels.
Well, I guess the bit is they can stay on shore a little bit in the water because they come out for air every once in a while, but
Right.
some of them looked like they were just staying in the water, which shouldn't be how it is.
Right. Now that you say it, like, it didn't really... I didn't think about it at the time, but I guess you're right.
Yeah, I mean, they can't breathe underwater, and regardless of whether it's a brain operating a body or like a parasite operating a brain operating a body, you do need the oxygen to have the body go. So I don't know. It seems more magic than physical right now, but whatever.
Whatever, just do it. Just do your thing.
So the brother and sister Sam and Greg, they are trying to rob that duffel bag from Michonne and Pete, but it might have been theirs to begin with. We just saw it when we showed up. We don't know.
Yeah.
And then a completely different group of people show up, led by someone who we will learn later is named Randall.
Yeah, again, they throw a lot of characters at you.
Yeah.
And, like, it's fine, but yeah, at the time I was thinking, this is a lot to juggle.
So, Randall's group assumes that you and Pete are with Sam and Greg, and you four are all together, even though you just met.
Yeah.
And you're given a lot of opportunities later to tell Randall, or later you'll meet Randall's sister Nora, or Zachary, who is like one of the underlings of this group called Monroe. And you're given a lot of opportunities to just either tell the truth or lie about the situation you're in. And every single opportunity I was given, I was like, I do not care about Sam and Greg. I just met them. I'm throwing them under the bus now. I'm telling them I met them earlier today, and I don't care if they live or die.
Wow.
I'm telling these people that have me at gunpoint that these other people that used to have me at gunpoint are not part of my thing.
Right. And how did that play out?
They do not believe me.
Ooh.
Every time I tell them, they're like, look, we saw you together. We know you're part of the same group.
Yeah.
And then Michonne doesn't give me a second text option to say, no, for real, though.
No, but seriously, pinky promise.
Yeah. So I'm guessing, based on your reaction, you did not do that.
So for a little bit I was on the exact same page. I was like, look, I'm telling the truth. We don't know these people. But it's when they held Greg at gunpoint where I was like, okay, I could see Michonne lying to save this kid. Even though, like, to me, she seemed like she would take the brunt of it for this kid. Like, if it were an adult, no, who cares? But, like, these are just kids, and...
Well, they're like 16, 17. They're older
But,
teenagers.
right, but to her, she still considers them kids.
Sure.
She still says, like, he's just a kid. So I could see her, especially since she lost her kids, I could see her having a soft spot for the well-being of these younger characters, at least when things get that serious. Because, yeah, at first I was totally on the same track, but once they started playing hardball, especially since Samantha was saying, like, look, they will kill people. They killed all those people on the ferry you were at, and these are crazy people. That's when I was like, maybe I should start, like, trying to help these guys out, because they are goners if I don't.
Dustin, that's the trick. I don't believe anyone.
That's the trick. I don't like kids.
Yeah, because someone or both people are probably lying here.
Yeah.
Because the Monroe people say they weren't the people to massacre everyone in the ferry. Which I could believe is maybe true, but I don't currently. I think they probably
Where
did
did-
do that.
Where do the lies end and the truth begins?
I assume they did massacre everyone on the ferry. Their story about
Yeah.
them being barbarians that were, like, trying to hurt them also, maybe that's also true, but I do believe they were killed by Monroe.
Yeah.
But also, Sam saying they didn't steal all the other duffel bags of goods from Monroe, I also don't believe. I think she probably did.
Yeah.
So both people are lying to each other. I feel like they should just settle it. I'm gonna leave with Pete with nothing in my hands. We're not taking anything. I'm just going.
Yeah, we just kind of got roped into this. It's just a silly mix-up.
Yeah. So, at a certain point, I am skipping ahead a little bit just to make sure we can cover the whole episode.
Right.
Norma, who seems Randall's maybe older sister, seems to be the leader of the whole community. Which, by the way, Monroe is this linked up system of free-floating docks and boats that are all just tied to each other.
It's really cool. We haven't seen anything like that in Walking Dead so far.
No, I always love this kind of a pirate aesthetic thing. I think they do it in one of the Pirate of the Caribbean's movies.
Yeah. Well, also in Monkey Island 2, the first wood tick is just made up of a bunch of pirate ships.
Yeah, Pirates of the Caribbean 2. I had a concept for one of these kinds of things for our D&D game that we played, but we ended up not going to that place.
Oh, that sucks. That would have been cool.
Yeah, and I mean, it would just happen in your head if we did that for D&D, so you can probably just do that now.
I'll just imagine what it would have been like.
Yeah, that's the thing with D&D. Like, if you want to play, you are just wanting to do the thing that you could do right now. But with people,
yeah, I'll
rules.
just change it in my. I'll just change it in my head. I'll be like, oh no, actually, that did happen.
Yeah, I mean that's essentially how that game works.
You could say that about anything, honestly.
But you go to the top deck of one of these boats with Norma, and she interviews you, and she's trying to get to the bottom of this. You can play this interview completely straight, but it's interesting because one of the first things that she asks you is, when did you first meet Sam? Who, as a reminder, is the young girl who had you at gunpoint, and then Monroe people assume is with you, but was not. I told them the truth immediately.
I did as well.
Just earlier that day. And the cool thing about that is, instead of saying Norma will remember that or something along those lines in the top, it'll say you told the truth, but it seems unlikely.
Yeah,
which is
I got that as well.
It's not a choice
like
between
that.
deceit and truth. It's a choice between likeliness and unlikeliness.
Yeah. I thought this whole scene was really cool, this whole part, the interrogation.
Yeah, it's pretty well done. They ask a bunch of other questions, and I was just... I was giving them anything they wanted to ask about Greg and Sam. I was completely selling them out. But anytime they asked about, like, okay, so how many of them are you? Are there others of you and Pete? I just chose the silence option. And Norma did not like that.
That's interesting. For that one, boy, that specific question really, I was on the pause screen for like 10 minutes thinking of how to answer. Yeah, because like earlier down in the hold, Sam was saying like, if there's anyone you care about out there, do not tell them anything. And even just the question before, Norma was saying, if your friends you were looking for are out there, we'll find them and bring them back here. And I'm like, shit, I don't know if that's good. I don't know if that's a good thing. Because it sounds like they could do that to the rest of our crew, too, and I don't think this is a place we all want to be.
Yeah, we have our own boat, and it doesn't want to be eaten by a rat king of other boats.
Yeah, and I was just thinking about how, like, both the truth and a lie could go very wrong here in different ways. So I really had to think about what to tell.
I told her a lot of the truth.
Yeah,
it's gonna bite me. It will bite me in the ass later on, I'm sure.
Yeah, So I told the truth for the first one, like you did, just saying, like, yeah, I don't know these people. We just, I have no idea who they are before we met earlier in the ferry. And then for when she asked how many more of us are there, I said, no one. It's just us. So
Did they believe you?
Yeah, they just believed me. But it was another thing like that. It was, she believes you, but it seems unlikely.
Yeah,
So,
at one point she goes, "Why did you go to the ferry?" And I told her straight up, and this is probably dumb because this was about my people. I told her, we found a radio signal. I don't know. We
I
heard
said
one.
that too. I also said that.
And yeah, and then she brings up something like, "Oh, really? Okay, I believe you. So we're gonna send some more people to the ferry and search all the other rooms and see if we can find anyone broadcasting a radio signal. If they need help, we'll bring it." Which
Yeah,
seems
that's
ominous.
the one. That's what made me think,
Yeah.
like, oh, I better not tell her that we have other people, or else that same thing will probably happen to them. I think they do a really good job of making you think about if you want to tell the truth or not in like all of these. And then she brings up Greg, or Randall brings up Greg,
Yeah.
to kind of cross-examine, see if he gives the same answers as you do. He does not. He's just straight up lying and really fucking you over on this.
Yeah, because Randall loves the idea that we and him are old friends, and Greg also apparently loves the idea. So everyone is just on board saying, "No, it's the four of us." And I felt so betrayed by these people I just met and was trying to throw under the bus.
Yeah, you were trying to do them a good service of really selling them out, and this is how they treat you?
Yeah, I guess I deserve it if you think about it in those terms.
Yeah, but that's when I started. So he was lying, but that's when I took the blame for him. Not the first time I was like, no, he's wrong, he's lying. And they just like beat the shit out of him. They just I forget if they punch him or if they pistol whip him, but he gets a blow to the face pretty hard. And then the next question they ask, I forget what the exact question was. I didn't write it down. Do you remember what it was? The second question they asked him?
Well, it's all the same
Greg?
questions, right? It's just whatever they asked Michonne.
Right. He asks, how many of them are you? And I said, it's just us. And he said, oh, there's tons of us out there, and we're really strong, too. And that's when they had him at gunpoint, and that's when I was like, actually, I lied about that. You don't need to shoot him or anything.
That's interesting because I was silent on that question. When they brought Greg up, Greg just said it's just us.
Interesting.
Yeah. So
he said the same thing as you.
No, because I didn't say anything.
Oh, right.
So
I wonder if what he says depends on what you say before. And I wonder if you don't say anything, if they just pick one.
Yeah, because Norma makes a point of saying, like, well, thank you, Greg. Your friend Michonne here got a black eye refusing to answer that question. Because she did. They beat her up a lot.
Yeah.
If you want to play a game where your main character gets beaten up a lot, The Walking Dead Michonne might be the one for you.
Yeah, if that's what you're really looking to get out of it.
If that's the reason you play video games, there's a video game for you.
But yeah, that is very interesting how differently it played out. Because then, like I said, after he said, yeah, there's tons of us, I said, yeah, I lied, he's right. Because he was just getting the shit beat out of him. I didn't want him to get the shit beat out of him more. And then that's when Randall punches Michonne.
Yeah, I got beat up by Randall when I was on my own before they even brought Greg up.
I'm starting to think Randall's not like a very good guy.
He is a bit of a D-I-C-K, if you know what I mean.
I think so. I didn't want to say it, but yeah. So we believe that he executed. Well, we know
it
he
is
executed
not hard to
everyone on the
believe
other
that
ship.
he executed all those families on the ferry.
Yeah, like Sam says, like including children, including the younglings on the ship.
Even the Padawans?
Yeah, so this guy not like your best friend here in this situation. He's a crazy man. He will kill whoever, it seems like.
Yeah.
But it seems like the others are not, they don't condone Randall's behavior.
Yeah, Norma's like using Randall in this instance, but even she's like, God damn it, Randall, you're taking it too far.
Oh, you little so-and-so, Randall.
Yeah, which is ridiculous, because like he's got Greg at gunpoint, and Norma's like, this is fine.
Yeah.
But then he like smacks Greg, and Norma's like, Randall, God damn it.
Look, holding him at gunpoint is one thing, but smacking him?
Yeah, giving
Come
him a
on.
slap? He didn't
That
want
hurts.
that, Randall.
That hurts.
So the episode culminates with Randall and Zachary, who is one of the guys who keeps saying, Randall, you're taking it too far.
You're a loose
You're
cannon,
a loose cannon. I want your badge on my desk now. It's Randall and Zachary take Greg and Sam and Michonne into Jonas's room. Now, Jonas is the doctor of Monroe. He's also Zachary's boyfriend, it seems.
Mm-hmm.
And you're taking him to his like combination bedroom, operating room, whatever, which is gotta be gross. You should probably not sleep in the operating room.
Yeah, get a different room.
And Randall asks Jonas to leave and gives his gun to Zachary and says, you know what, Zachary? You are not doing anything useful. which seems like, it seemed to me kind of out of nowhere. It was a weird, like, sudden criticism of Randall to have for Zachary, but maybe it's just been bubbling under the surface and they've got their own internal politics that we don't know about.
Yeah, they got their own thing going on. But also up on the top deck, during all the questioning, Zachary wasn't but he was criticizing Randall for good reason, but I think that's probably part of it, where Zachary wasn't doing anything for the interrogation, but he was criticizing Randall's method, so I feel like that's probably where it came from.
Yeah, I can imagine Randall getting frustrated with it if Zachary didn't have a great point.
Yeah, I could see him saying, you know what? I am so cross at this situation.
So Randall gives Zachary his gun, and I think the idea that Randall has is like, let's just get Zachary in a place where he can be okay with interrogation.
Yeah.
Even though Randall is rough and tumble and pretty shitty, he's not expecting Zachary to kill anyone, but because Zachary is so nervous, he shoots Greg in the chest.
Oh, man.
Now, that all played out the same for you, too, right? That's
exactly what happened.
I think that's constant, then. I think that can't happen differently.
So, before we get to Greg's death, can we rewind a bit to one of Greg's shining moments where
Sure.
He pissed his little pantaloons?
He did piss his
on
pants
deck.
during the interrogation.
Yeah, and I get it. That's a situation that's pants pissing worthy, I think. I'm not going to judge him for it, but it is a funny thing to have in your Telltale game.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever peed to fear.
Yeah, but
in my life.
Yeah, I've never been so scared that I've pissed myself.
Oh, I've had
but
every
I
emotion.
feel like
Is that a weird thing to say about yourself? I'm pretty sure I've had every emotion I can have.
I've experienced the emotion rainbow.
And I don't know. Pee hasn't happened because of fear.
Yeah, I haven't experienced the pee emotion yet.
Pee's happened because of tickles.
Pee has happened because I have to go to the bathroom.
Oh, that one's the most common.
Yeah, I think most people have done that way.
No, when I was like in elementary school, because you're a child, adults sometimes think it's okay to tickle you.
Right.
I peed my pants multiple times with people doing that. And I would yell at them after, saying, I told you not to do this.
Yeah, that's their fault.
Yeah. And they would always look like a deer in headlights when I would say that.
Boy, this it rivals the narrative twist in a Telltale game.
Yeah, after I was like 9 or 10 or so, people stopped tickling me all the time because I was becoming a man. But before that, and I don't know, it might still happen these days. I haven't been tickled in a while. If someone just held me down and tickled, I might still pee. I don't know.
I'm gonna have if we ever meet up in real life someday,
Don't.
I'll have to keep this in mind.
No, if you do this, we are no longer friends. That will end.
No,
the
that's what I'm
podcast.
saying. I'm saying that's gonna be what ends it.
Yeah.
No, I was saying like I'll make sure not to tickle you
Were you going to?
because I don't.
Are you a
what?
big tickler? Were you,
No, well,
would you have?
So I'll
Was it on the cards?
no, but now I know definitely do not.
Okay, cool.
I wouldn't want you to piss your pants in public in front of people.
No, me too.
Yeah, no, we're on the same page on this.
Yeah, I'm not into it.
and the best part is I didn't think you were.
No, me? Not into it.
Not into pissing in front of people due to being tickled.
Not even a little. I would hate it.
You know what? I have a feeling I would not be its biggest fan either.
So, Greg is dying, which because he's bleeding out from his chest from the bullet wound, and you can't just let a dying person die. You got to do extra stuff in this universe.
Yeah, there's a couple extra steps.
And of course, Sam is like not playing it safe at all, which makes you, the player, very nervous because you've seen a lot of these very quick turns, right?
Yeah.
So how did you do this? I tried to pull Sam off, and she got really mad about that.
I think I played it cool. I don't remember getting like super mad. So
I wasn't getting mad, but I was like, "Hey, Sam, she's gonna turn," and then you can either say, "I'm sorry," or "For real, get off," or you can pull her off. And I was like, "I'm just gonna pull her off because this is not. I'm not playing around with this. I've seen this go wrong."
Yeah. I don't think I pulled her off, but I did say, look, you gotta get off this guy because something not so great is gonna happen.
Yeah, so he does turn, and then Sam is fine.
Yeah.
He doesn't even get up.
Yeah, he just doesn't feel like standing up and using any energy. He doesn't even try, honestly.
I wonder if Sam can get bit in this scene if you just let her stay there.
I was thinking about that. I wonder, just given like the preview of what happens in the next episode, like it seemed like that could be the case.
Yeah, it seems like Sam's
maybe something else happens.
Character.
Yeah, so I was wondering that, but it didn't seem like it, especially if we both had the outcome where she doesn't. She seemed fine. But then you gotta beat in Greg's face with a pipe.
Yeah, you grab a pipe that's it's like screwed into the wall, and you just like yank it.
I'll take that.
It's one of the more cartoony aspects of this episode where Michonne's just looking around like you're in a boiler room and there's a loose, unused pipe that's not important to anything somehow, and you just grab it and pull horizontally off the wall, and it comes off.
They place that specifically for you.
Yeah, this is the extra pipe.
In case we need the extra pipe.
No, steam doesn't go through here. This is just for pipe.
Yeah, this is just to have a pipe lying around.
So you grab it, and then I don't know if you choose this or just have to. You do bash Greg's face in.
I think you just have to progress, but I'm not sure because I just went for it.
Yeah, because I would have. If I had the choice. I guess you don't have your machete, do you?
No, I'm pretty sure they took it away.
That would make sense. Yeah, I would have just cut off the head. But
yeah,
not an option here. You have to bash this girl's brother's face all the way in. It is a bummer.
Boy. Yeah, it's funny how the machete chopping off the head would have been the less gruesome option.
It's just clean.
Yeah, and there's still a face afterwards.
So this is the very end of the episode. Zachary comes back. He's, I think he drops his gun or something. How's the gun?
Oh, Michonne punches him.
Oh, Michonne punches Zachary immediately. Zachary is not ready for this whatsoever. His gun flies out of his hand because he's like, "What happened to Greg?" As if he doesn't remember just shooting him.
Yeah. He has the memory of a goldfish.
Yeah, he legit asks what happened to him, and Sam's like, "You shot him." His gun flies away. Sam gets the gun, and then you can either choose to intervene or not and shoot Greg, or use Zachary's gun to shoot Zachary. Sam will do it unless you step in. I stepped in.
I also stepped in.
Yeah, I know. We should have let her kill Zachary.
Well, it just seemed like not a good idea unless she was specifically going to shoot him in the head to make sure he didn't become a walker. It's like we just had a situation.
Well, I assume that she would shoot in the head at this point. It's like point blank range.
Right. But at the same time, I recognize that even though Zachary did shoot Greg, it didn't seem like he meant to, because if I remember right, when he shot the gun, I remember hearing like a ricochet, like it hit the wall or something, and then hit Greg after. So maybe I'm just remembering the scene wrong, but it seemed like he didn't even like specifically shoot him. The bullet like ricocheted off something and hit Greg.
No, he shot Greg. For me. Like...
well, like I said, I might be remembering wrong, but I just remember hearing like a ricochet, like it bounced off the wall or something. I might need to rewatch it.
Yeah, it might happen differently depending on how you react to it, but...
Yeah, I could also just be wrong. I could just be a silly Samuel.
I was having Michonne tell Zachary, like, no, point the gun at Randall. You don't have to do this. You don't have to be weird. Don't be weird about it, Zachary. Don't be weird.
Yeah, don't be weird. Zachary, shoot Randall.
Well, that's what I was saying, and I think he was like, so for its episode, he was shaking, and then he just like sort of turned more to the side where Greg was and did shoot, and it was point blank. She hit Greg straight in his chest without any kind of ricochet, for me at least. But that was the end of the episode. My thought was just Zachary was not ready to hold this gun. It was not his fault. This is Randall's fault. Let's call it the fault of who it was.
Exactly. Zachary did not have the intention of killing Greg.
Yeah, I'm sure Sam does not see it that way in this moment, but this is Randall's fault. Randall's the bad guy. So
exactly.
Let's again not be weird about it.
Yeah, let's just be cool.
Yeah, the problem is that in wrestling the gun out of Sam's hands, Zachary picks it up. Which seems like, Zachary, you really should just give it back to me. I just did you a solid. It's not fair for you to keep it, but I understand why you want it. Yeah. So that's gonna bite us in the butt, because I wonder if you can like maybe try shooting your way out. It probably wouldn't work because the episodes need to be concise and kind of collapse into one narrative.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, maybe you could be on the upper hand if you keep the gun and just blast your way out. Shoot Norma, shoot Randall, see if society holds up without those two assholes, and make your way out.
So I do agree with you that the episode maybe it doesn't necessarily feel like, I don't know what I'm trying to say. I know at the beginning we were saying how it feels more like a setup episode than anything.
Yeah,
but I think it does a good enough job.
I don't
setting
know what I have yet to understand what the story is doing. And I don't think it's just because it's smaller or shorter that I feel that way, because in a lot of the 400 Days episodes, I felt like, oh, these are very smart, because I'm getting a little... Each one of these vignettes feels impactful and has things for me to think about after I finish them.
Yeah.
Like thinking about the Remember the guy on the prison bus? That's a forever thought.
I agree. That is a forever thought.
Or
that was
the guy who takes over the diner.
Yeah. That was good. I never replayed 400 Days on the definitive edition. I probably should go back and do that.
Oh.
Not that it matters.
Yeah, I don't know.
It doesn't matter at all.
Past season 2, yeah, I would doubt it.
Even barely in season 2.
Yeah.
Like, they are there at Carver's camp, but they don't need to be.
No. Yeah, so that's the episode. That's the end of the episode. It cuts to credits right after Zachary picks up the gun, or you kill Zachary, depending on what you did.
Yeah, neither of us did.
Do we have anything else we want to talk about?
Well, we have our segments and we have our choices.
Sure. But before we go, I mean, that's how we signal the show's ending. Should we do that?
I think so. I don't really have anything specific to... Oh, they call the walkers... So Michonne and Pete still call them walkers, which is a little silly, but fine. I'm used to that by now. But then the people on this ship call them rotters.
Yeah, everyone's got a stupid name for them. And
I guess that is what they do.
I wrote down that the UI for mashing a button and holding a button or pressing the button used to be a lot more intuitive. And in this game, they just show me like a picture of the X button, and I press it, and I'm like, did I do it? Was that just a press? And then it's still on the screen, and I'm like, oh, okay, I need to keep pressing. It's a mash thing. And sometimes I'll realize too late because there's like the mash indication doesn't show up until I start to mash.
Right.
So I actually died twice just because I didn't realize it was a mash.
So
yeah.
That never happened to me. I never died, but that did happen to me once where I was supposed to mash and just wasn't, but luckily I mashed well enough afterwards to survive.
Yeah, I don't remember how they indicated a mash previously, but it's gone now, however they used to do it. Which is a downward step. That is worse.
Yeah, it's so funny how I can't remember either what the indication was for mashing.
It just
but
works.
it was just intuitive enough that I knew.
Yeah. I'm interested to maybe I'll look up a season 2 video just to see what the mashing looked like, because I really don't remember how they conveyed that information, but it was obvious.
It's just something you don't think about, so you don't remember it now because it was just so obvious at the time.
Yeah, I think my lasting thought on playing as Michonne is that I think it's probably just because I don't have the background with the comic, but I really don't know how to roleplay Michonne. In the same way that I knew instantly with Lee, it's like, okay, I'm making the choices for Lee. However my Lee is how we're going to go with it. And then I'm making a decision up front with who I think this person is, and then I'm doing it. And then with Clementine, I'm like, okay, well, I'm basing it off the season I just saw her grow up during, so I know kind of what she's all about. With Michonne, I felt more like there was a bunch of right and wrong answers. Not in the same way that we talked about that concept with New Tales from the Borderlands, but it was more like when you're with Pete on the rowboat out to the ferry. Pete's kind of flirty with you. Not like heavily flirty, but just sort of like, hey, I'm glad I found you when I did. You know, that kind of thing.
Right.
And I was genuinely taken aback a little bit, wondering how I'm supposed to feel as Michonne. Like, could Michonne flirt? Is that the kind of person, or is she more stoic than that? I don't know yet. I feel like I should have been given one or two more things about Michonne, just because I didn't read the comic. I would like to have seen a maybe any kind of flashback of her doing a normal thing just to build off the rest of it. Who is she? What does a normal Michonne moment look like?
Right. I can definitely see that. I kind of felt the same. I feel like by the end, I kind of got a good grasp on her a little bit, or at least my interpretation of her. In that boat scene, the way I played her was I kind of had her flirt back, but in a way where, like, she's not super, like, I guess in a different way from Lee, who, like, we both kind of played Lee as the Boy Scout, the kind of,
Yeah.
like, he had some levity to him. He was nice to people. With her, I wanted to play her, at least with Pete, because to me, it felt like her and Pete kind of had, like, I felt like they had some good chemistry together, and she was, like, at least a little less cold to him. So I played her in a way where she was, like, kind of flirting back with him, but in a way where you can tell, like, she's not, like, a happy person. She's not in a good spot, but she's able to kind of open up a little bit to this person who, kind of saved her life. And so, but, like, when talking with these people on this ship, she's not gonna, like, be nice to these people. She can be tougher with these people she doesn't know and she doesn't trust. But I did kind of have her lighten up a little bit with Samantha and Greg.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I did get that feeling like maybe she has that soft spot for kids due to her kids that she lost. So I do like that. You can kind of play it a little loosey-goosey and feel it out a little bit, but I do also agree that they don't make it's not obvious the character she is yet.
Yeah, so Pete asks about his beard at one point. It's sort of out of nowhere.
Was he asking about the beard? I thought he was asking about the earring.
Oh. Maybe combination? I don't know. I thought it was the beard.
Yeah, because he says, Oak says it makes him look like a pirate.
Yeah, that could be either one. That could be the earring or the beard.
Yeah.
I assume he
both
did
are
not
pirate.
pierce his ear in the apocalypse.
Yeah, I guess that would make sense, too.
Maybe, though. Yeah, and I'm always going to back up a beard. I'm a bearded gentleman. I'm going to support that decision.
Right. Beards are good.
So I had Michonne say, no, it looks good. But then I realized, I just flirted. I guess I made that choice now. That's who I am. I've locked in who I assume Michonne is.
Yeah, and I do feel like there's kind of a benefit to that, being able to kind of just feel her out as the episode goes. Mm-hmm. But it is a little weird when you have an established character that you're just not familiar with.
Yeah, because, like, you can choose who Lee and Clementine are, and you can choose who Reese and Fiona are. Bigby Wolf is a character in the comics that you kind of already know the personality of, but in that game, it's much less about choosing your personality, more about just how do you do this thing? How do you solve this case?
Yeah.
In this one, this is the first Telltale directed Walking Dead style game. I think New Tales did it a little bit, but this is the first one where Michonne really is a pre-existing character. And you have to you probably should just roleplay her in the way the comics are, but I as people who don't know, I'm making a lot of guesses. She seemed cold. She seemed like a person who would be very cold. She's seen a lot of shit. She's very adept in combat, but she's not like bubbly or happy or anything. So when Norma compliments Michonne's name, saying, I wrote it down. I always wanted to be a Veronica or a Gwendolyn. But I'm just Norma. There's an option for Michonne.
I'm just Norma.
There's an option for Michonne to say, Norma's a good name. And I knew, I'm not going to pick that. Michonne is not that happy.
About this situation.
Anything. That's not the kind of person she is.
Right. Yeah. I played her similarly. I also think she's cold and seen some shit, but I feel like she does have kind of a soft core inside you can get to. Mm-hmm. And it's rare, but it comes out every so often. Maybe that's just because I don't necessarily want to play as like a completely cold, closed off character. It gives you some sort of warmth you can grasp onto.
Well, my feelings about it were kind of like with Pete and Oak, I'm fine being a little warmer because those are her friends. She trusts them.
Yeah.
They are on her side. With Sam and Greg, no. Not even. She just met them. Maybe she'll help them, but like she's not going to be cool to them. I don't think so.
Right. And I do think that's kind of where I landed, just because I only started softening up on them once Greg started actually like getting hurt.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I had Michonne be more like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see going forward, because unless they do something to make me feel different, I kind of feel like I will continue to be like, hey, Sam, it was really a bummer that your brother died. I do not want to get caught for you stealing this shit from these people. I'm not part of this. I'm still not gonna, like, be cool with you. I'll help you. I'll help you as much as I can help myself, but I'm not going to take a bullet for you or anything.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's fair. I get that. I think that's a good place to be.
Okay, I think that's where my notes end. Oh, except for Greg's voice. Greg's voice sounded really familiar to me, so I was wondering if I've heard it before. Looked it up. Greg is played by Boo Boo Stewart.
Who's that?
I don't know. I looked him up.
So he just sounded familiar but wasn't.
Yeah, I was wrong.
Okay.
He's been in a lot of stuff. He's been in some of the Twilight movies, but I have not seen those, so I don't think I would have recognized him from anything he's done in particular. Who I thought it was, and looking at a picture of this guy, it's very funny that I thought it was him because they're very different looking people. Do you remember? Have you seen The Office? All The Office?
Not a lot.
There's a character in the last couple seasons who goes by Dwight Jr., and whose real name I think is Clark. And that actor is in a lot of sort of like 2000s era comedy, like raunchier comedy movies. Right. I thought it was him.
So you thought it was Dwight Jr.
But it was instead Boo Boo Stewart. So I really didn't make it.
I'm sorry for laughing at that name. That's rude.
I mean, he almost definitely chose it himself, right?
I don't know. It's possible a parent named him Boo Boo.
It is possible. I guess.
I don't want to make fun of that, but it just reminds me of from Yogi Bear.
Yeah. Well, I hope that Greg's eating all those picnic baskets in the sky. Should we go into our segments?
Let's go into these segments.
Which one do you want to do first? Which segment? We got a golden moment, we got a choice cut, we got a weekly guy.
Well, I have weekly guy down first in my notes.
Okay.
That's usually the first one I go for.
Let's do it.
My answer's boring. It's just Michonne. I feel like they did a good job of. I feel like they did a really good job of selling her as someone who can take care of herself, but you really feel that some fucked up shit happened in her life, and she is not a happy person at this point. Like you feel for her. You understand what happened to her, and you get why she's the way she is. I think they did a good job of selling her, making her a compelling character, even though we were just talking about how we weren't quite sure how to play her yet. I still got the gist of who she was.
So she was tempting for me, but because of that reason we talked about, she didn't quite make it to my weekly guy.
Right, I get
position. Close. I mean, she is great, and I think the thing they're doing with the hallucinations of her seeing her kids, her dead kids, just in places, and their toys in places. It is working. I think that it's unsettling and scary and off-putting, but in a way that feels earned, which is basically all you can ask for.
Yeah.
So I like that about her. But no, my weekly guy is going to Zachary.
Ooh. He was so scared in this episode.
He was very scared. And I think that you see this a lot on the in-team of whoever we're following, of this character who's like, I know what I need to do, and it's bad and maybe a little evil, but we need to do it in order to survive. You see that a lot. You don't see it a lot on the out team. in the like the bad guy faction so far, like Carver's people, right? A
Right.
lot of them have just been either loyal to Carver or just bad in other ways, or they defect to be good. And I think seeing this character of Zachary is like, I'm loyal to Monroe, but like, boy, do I think Randall is doing something wrong here, and I'm not going to be cool with this gun. I really can't handle it. I'm telling you in advance I can't handle it, and then he's right.
Yeah.
I think that's
I
a
told
cool
you.
character. I told you. You can't get mad at me
Yeah,
for this.
I
I
get-
told you.
I definitely get that. I think that's a great choice. I also we didn't see him a lot in the episode, but I also thought Pete was just a nice guy. Like maybe
Yeah.
not super interesting at this point. Like we don't get a whole lot about him, but like I liked him and Michonne talking in the boat.
Mm-hmm.
I got a sense of this is someone that Michonne seems like someone who does not have a lot of friends, and this is someone she considers a friend.
Yeah, and he's very much in denial about the other two people he's looking for being probably very dead at this point.
He's very hopeful.
Definitely too hopeful in a way that is humanizing and interesting to think about as a character. But yeah, he didn't quite come out of his shell yet. I'm expecting big things from Pete.
Yeah.
Expecting big things. He's gonna die immediately. I don't know.
He's, like, as soon as the next episode starts, he trips on a banana peel.
Yeah. As soon as the next episode starts, Randall has killed Pete just because he needed to get it out of his system or something.
Yeah, off screen even.
Yeah. He beat me in a game of chess and he has to die for that.
And so you find out that he died when you just have to kind of step over his corpse.
Michonne's like, oh, man.
Oh, that sucks. Shoot.
So my weekly guy, Zachary, yours is Michonne. I think those are good.
Yeah. Yeah. I always feel a little bad when I just default to the character we get the most time with, but I do think they did a good job with it.
No, I mean, if it deserves it, if that's the best character, I think that a lot of the time when you're playing a Japanese role-playing game, a traditional JRPG, your main character can be underdone. So when a main character is written well, I think it stands out a lot. Especially when a main character is mostly just the vessel for the player's choices and the player's agency. That's a difficult thing to write. So
other games too. Like I know this is like comparing apples and oranges, but I don't know anyone whose favorite character in the Mario series is Mario himself. Just because like he's meant to be a blank slate for the character, but like that means if I'm playing Mario Kart, I'm gonna pick someone else entirely.
Yeah. I'm gonna pick
or even a series like Ratchet and Clank, which does have more focus on writing and character. I feel like Ratchet is a pretty boring main character compared to everyone else. It's main character syndrome, where like all the other characters get to like be more dynamic, and while the main character has to be more balanced for that exact reason. Mm-hmm. So it's cool when a main character gets to make an impression.
I think I'm a little atypical in that way, because a lot of my favorite characters are main characters in things. It depends on the thing. Like, I think Mario is a very easy one to say. No, it's clearly got to be something else. But like my favorite character in Banjo-Kazooie is Banjo.
That's true. I do love both Banjo and Kazooie. Like I would say that's an example of a game where the main characters are given good personalities you can latch onto and really enjoy. Mm-hmm. It's just a pretty common occurrence to get like, okay, this main character has to be very balanced. He has to appeal to everyone, so we'll just have them be not too far in any one direction.
Yeah.
And it doesn't always happen. Like Banjo-Kazooie is a good example, but I feel like it happens enough that main character syndrome is a term.
Yeah, I think Link is probably a very uncommon favorite character in any Zelda game.
Yeah, I don't give a shit about Link. Very rarely. I like him in Wind Waker just because they do a good job of making him emote a lot.
Yeah, is that just the art style, though, or do you like the character?
Yeah, well, probably. But it does give you something to latch onto, though.
Sure.
He's still, like, not my favorite character in Wind Waker, but he is probably the Link that I like the most.
I mean, I like the character design of Link in almost every Zelda game, but there's probably someone else that is more likable.
I'm just saying Wind Waker is like the one time where you can grasp onto something with
I think the part of the lasting appeal of Final Fantasy VII is the dual purpose Cloud has as a very, very good player insert character who's just like, you can just imagine yourself being Cloud and that totally works. But also Cloud is his own character with his own past that is very interesting in its own right. To be held up and compared with any other party member or any other like NPC in the game, Cloud is a pretty interesting character, and part of that holds the story up very high.
Yeah, and I don't want to say it's easy to make a compelling main character. Like, apparently, it's not an easy thing to do. So I applaud whenever they can really make one that stands out alongside the other characters.
Yeah, I think Lee and Clementine are the best characters in those games. But
definitely.
I also think
Telltale
Wallace
in general
can eat a brick. Wallace become. Brick
I'm not
food.
I'm not on the Wallace hate train, but I think it's funny that he's kind of become your nemesis in this podcast.
Well, it's interesting because before we replayed this game, I loved Wallace, but everything that we ran into in the game was like, oh, God, this motherfucker.
That game really painted your opinion of Wallace in a different way.
Yeah, even though I had played that game through all the way to the end before. It was my second time playing it, but this time I really disliked Wallace more and more.
I love it. I'm the kind of person who'd be like, look, Wallace, I'm on your side here, man, but this guy, you're probably gonna have to step it up to convince him.
Wallace, just talk to her.
Come on,
tell her you didn't mean to propose. Avoid the shenanigans. Just
tell her there's
do it.
Tell her there's a thing on her chest you can't look down at, and you're stammering.
No, it's on your boobs. No, it's just on it. Sorry.
Yeah,
sorry
you
for
might
being
want to take care
a little rude about it, but that is, if you just look down, you'll see it.
Yeah, I'm looking out for your best interest by helping, so you don't get unwanted stares from other people.
Indulging in your own nervousness, Wallace, is selfish to a fault. It puts your comfortability over other people's livelihoods.
And I love that this is coming out on the Michonne episode. the hate for Wallace.
Choice cut.
Man.
My choice cut is the various choices you can make in the interview or the interrogation with Norma that are true, but she just won't believe for good reason. I think that's a very well done piece of game design right there.
Mine too. Like I said, I had to pause it for like 10 minutes thinking about like what would be the best choice to make here. It really did put me in a spot where I had to think about it. Michonne would not have a pause button in this situation.
No, I don't know what I would do.
So,
I don't think I would do well.
I would probably just be like, yeah, very well done scene. That's also my choice cut.
Cool. Golden moment. I wrote down my golden moment shortly after playing it, and I think I was just in the throes of having just done it. I don't know if I'd still say this, but I'll log it in just because it's what I have written down. Greg's death, the way that they have to deal with Greg's death, the emotional resonance of it all, the ramp up to that moment of stress felt very believable.
See, I agree it was done well, but I don't know if I can give it my golden moment just because we've seen that before, which is fine. You know, I'm not saying they can't ever do that again, but like, I just remember back to like Lily and Larry in the meat locker.
Yeah, I think part of it that I think is lending it some goodwill this time is just how conflicted Zachary was leading into it, and it not like it's not the Michonne having to kill Greg part. It's just the this
whole
interrogation
situation
did not go well for Zachary part.
This could have gone better.
Yeah.
He shot someone.
Yeah.
That's a good pick. So mine is just this little moment in so it's when Michonne and Samantha are locked up down below in the ship hold, and you're just kind of looking around, and I could not find anything. I was like, okay, so I guess I'm supposed to look for something sharp to break out here. They kind of telegraph that that's what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
So I was looking around, just couldn't find anything, and then the toys pop up. I don't think the toys are there like right away. It takes a little bit for them to appear. That alone is like a cool choice. Like once the stress is building up, these hallucinations start flaring up, and she sees these toys. That's one thing, but then I was still just kind of looking around. I was like, oh shit, I can't find what I'm looking for. And then if you turn to the right, you just catch a glimpse of her daughters. And I was like, whoa, holy shit. That caught me by surprise. I like that.
That was just a really cool moment in terms of like, you're looking around the room for something sharp and there isn't anything.
Yeah.
Very un-video game-like.
It makes you feel pretty helpless in that situation.
Yeah, there actually isn't anything around that you can use. That's not common in a game.
Yeah.
If it's time to use some stuff, it should be around. And that, yeah. Especially in this kind of thing, it telegraphs strongly that you'll find a knife or something, and you just don't. You find other terrible hallucinations.
Yeah, it's interesting how at the time while actually playing it, like, it was just kind of frustrating. I was like, shit, am I just like missing something? Where it's got to be here somewhere. And then it turned out there just wasn't. And in retrospect, I think it's great.
You know what?
I think it's a very cool situation.
I would like to change my golden moment to your golden moment.
Ooh.
You sold me. You sold me on it. It was a really good one.
Yeah, nice. Cool. Yeah, I just thought it was great. That whole... Well, it's funny. I was just talking about that part where you see her daughters. You actually convinced me to like that whole scene. For what you said about not just being so helpless in that scene. That's great, too. I didn't even think about that when playing it at the time. Yeah, that's great.
We help each other to like things. That's this podcast's whole vibe.
Yeah, you know what? That's a good way to sell it.
Well, you can catch more of that vibe next week when we talk about The Walking Dead Michonne Episode 2. Until then, be really nice and then die.
Yeah, I guess that's what happened to Greg.
Is that the end of our show forever? Be really nice and then die? I feel like there's something in it that is nice, but it's like, I don't want you to die before the next episode.
I don't want anyone to die.
Well, no, they will. That's part of life. You can't get on board or get not on board, bud. But yeah, my thought is,
I don't want to encourage it, though.
Well, I want that to be the audience's move for the rest of their life, but I'm saying it as if I want you to contain it in the week between episodes. Your life goal should be very nice and then die. I think that's good. It doesn't need to happen now, is the trick.
Yeah. You don't need to die right now is the thing. But when you eventually die, I hope you were nice beforehand.
Can we workshop it a little bit? How can I make that more apparent that I'm not telling you to die between episodes?
Maybe the new sign-off can be "Have a great summer."
Have a. I can't even. That sucks in such a specific way. Until next time, have a great summer.
Have a great summer.